Hello everybody, welcome back to the Elliott Confidential podcast. My name is Aiden and I'm joined by my father, Christopher Elliott, and my brother, Aaron Elliott. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
I'm doing amazing.
Me too.
Why are we amazing?
Well, we're in Antarctica.
We are in Antarctica. This is a very special podcast because we are coming to you from the bottom of the world, Antarctica.
And as we're recording this, we're looking out the window and the scenery is so beautiful. You guys are going to love all these pictures we're going to put up. The ice, the formations.
That's gorgeous.
The entire
Glaciers.
continent is just incredible.
Icebergs.
We are on the Hurtigruten MS Fridtjof Nansen, is that how they pronounce it? Which started off in Ushuaia, sometimes also pronounced Ushuaia, I was almost called it Venezuela, Argentina. And we spent 2 days crossing the Drake Passage and enjoying all those waves. And then we've been cruising in Antarctica for the last 4 days. And so this is our last day here, actually. It's been amazing. What would you say has the highlight been for you?
Well, for me, the highlight was the penguins, of course. I love penguins. Like, I feel like a lot of people would say, oh, it's the whales, or maybe if you get the chance to see a polar bear, maybe it's that. I think even though we've seen a lot of whales, even if I saw a polar bear, it is going to have to be the penguins.
Because
you get up.
They don't have polar bears here.
Polar bears are in the north.
Yeah, they're in the north.
They said polar bears. They talked about them.
Maybe they imported them.
polar bears here.
They imported.
They talked about them up on the announcements.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, regardless of all that, I'd have to say it's the penguins because they just get up so close to you. And I got some great pictures, great videos of them, and they're so adorable. Like, the one thing that you would want to walk up to you in Antarctica is the cute things, and the birds obviously aren't, but the penguins.
Penguins
are also birds, actually, but they do, and they're so adorable and they're so
Yes.
cute. That's my favorite part.
Aaron, what do you like about Antarctica?
All of the natural formations here, it's crazy because basically it's just land and covered by a giant glacier. That's basically everything in Antarctica. And then you have sometimes these little penguin dens. But beyond that, it looks like some Oreo flurry.
No, it looks like a Slurpee.
Well, Oreo Slurpee.
The texture of the ice here is the texture of Slurpee ice.
When you walk on it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very like a Slurpee.
But the thing is, the rocks are like basically completely black, so it looks like sort of Oreo palette, and then you have the icebergs, and then you have the mountains, and then when you have a nice blue sky, it's amazing. And there's so much UV here that when you look out into the distance, everything is hazed blue. It's crazy.
Yeah. For me, I think it isn't so much the sights, although they are gorgeous, they're absolutely beautiful, but I was writing about this on Facebook today. It's the sounds and the smells of the Antarctic. And I just want to talk about the smells. You walk out, we have a nice view here. If I walk out onto the balcony of our cabin and you just take a deep breath of air, you would smell, maybe we've never smelled this, but something air that's completely unpolluted. It's totally pristine. And then you smell, it's a little bit of the ocean spray, and then you smell also it's the snow melting under the sun, and it really reminds you of, I remember these like late March days when we went skiing in Colorado, and it was the same smell. And that's just incredible. In terms of the sounds, it's the sounds of the penguins squawking, the birds over the ship that you can hear, and the glaciers that are calving. It sounds like thunder, but it's a long thunder. So you're standing there and you're watching the glaciers slide into the ocean, and then you hear this noise. So for me, it's really not just the sights, but also the sounds and the smells. And of course, the worst smell is the smell of penguins. They smell like ammonia and rotting fish and old cigars.
The smell of the penguins is not very
That's
good.
disgusting.
Yeah, I should mention that. You want them to come over to you visually, but not olfactorily.
Yes, absolutely. Speaking of worst In the second half of this podcast, we're going to talk about our worst experiences of 2022. And so I wanted to ask you guys listening what your worst experience of last year was when you traveled. We have a couple of nominees for you, but I'd love to know, about the places that you would never go back to. So please leave a comment, and we will read them as we always do in the next podcast. So, back to Antarctica. Who would you recommend visit a place like Antarctica? We're on an expedition ship. So, any thoughts about, you're talking to relatives and they're like, hey, I heard you went to Antarctica. Who would you recommend it for?
I wouldn't recommend a demographic to this place. I would recommend a certain viewpoint to Antarctica.
And what's the view?
So, as you said, it's the most expensive destination. But with most destinations, people define the price of that place based off of how expensive the items are there. Because most of the time, people travel to buy things. And on Antarctica, they don't have any shops. I mean, look, it's just snow. You're not going to go to like a science center where they're doing research on the ice and buy something from them. There's no place to buy anything.
No souvenir shops. Yeah.
No souvenir shops. Yeah. So I would recommend this place to people who heavily prioritize experience over things. If you like going to places and buying things, this place is not for you. If you like going to places and experiencing things, this place is for you. And that doesn't mean one is better than the other, but you have to admit, a lot of people travel for one, and then a lot of people travel for the other. So,
okay, let's talk about the expedition ship thing, because I don't know if people are aware what the differences are between a regular cruise ship, a small cruise, luxury cruise, and an expedition cruise. So, Aaron, we're on an expedition cruise ship now. How is it different from some of the other cruise ships that we've been on, just in terms of what they have, the amenities, and then also what they do during the day?
So the way I would describe an expedition cruise is basically as a normal cruise ship, except it has two exits. So usually on a normal cruise, you have the main way on. This is the main entrance onto the cruise boat, where all of the cargo comes in, all the people come in, and in the same way, all the cargo and people come out. Now, on an expedition cruise, you're going to have something different. You're going to have basically all of these little dinghies, zodiacs rather, just rubber boats that are in a compartment, and you're going to have a compartment for those, and then you're going to have a second exit where people are going to be able to board those rubber boats, kayaks, zodiacs, and so they're going to be able to basically, they're not just constrained by being able to come in and out of port, but they can also just go on the water. Right?
So typical day's events here in Antarctica would be, you get up in the morning, you have breakfast, and they start sending those boats out immediately. Those little zodiacs,
yes,
which can fit, I think, 12 people on each one. And they send them out in boarding groups, and they land on the ice, and then they walk around, and then what happens?
They walk around.
They walk around.
Take photos.
Climb a mountain. Usually they land near a rookery, so there's penguins, several rookeries. So there's baby penguins that you take pictures of. And I know people will walk around and take pictures of baby penguins and the beautiful icebergs and snow behind them.
Yeah, so the idea of an expedition cruise is that you're going to be able to get off the ship, and in a way that's very flexible. Yeah. So you're not just stuck with going to some port and then everyone walks around the city and then they say, come back in 45 minutes. Here, they're going to take you on a little dinghy to some uninhabited land, and then you're going to walk around there on some path that someone's already pre-carved. Or it could be that you just take a boat and you do a cruise.
Well,
we've
done different landings. We've done a landing where we've been up against a rocky beach, and then we've done a water landing where we get off and we jump into the water. It's been pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll also say one thing is they heavily warn you not to stray off the path because you can easily fall into the snow and never get out.
I want to talk about mobility because that's my new thing, because I'm recovering from a fairly serious ski injury, and the crew here has been really amazing. They have helped me on and off the zodiacs. They've taken it very nice and slow. It's been great. I didn't think I was going to be able to do some of these landings, but they will give you these hiking poles, and so you can support yourself. As you say, Aaron, they try to carve out a staircase so that you don't have to slip and slide all over the place.
Yeah, I'll say one thing about the whole Hurtigruten experience is, when we were in Norway, that was a pretty adventurous experience. But here on the Antarctic cruise, they just took everything to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Like, this is just a huge step up from what was already a pretty nice experience.
Yeah. Well, the boat that we were on, the ship, they don't like it when you call it a boat, was basically a transportation vessel.
Yeah.
You transport mail and things like that. This is a purpose-built expedition ship.
Yeah. Totally
And
nice.
And it is. They mean business when they say expeditions. They'll do their stops and they'll send people out, and it's not just the zodiacs going ashore. There are optional excursions where you can go kayaking. There's a science boat, and then there's camping.
Yeah.
Which
Oh my goodness.
we really wanted to do that.
If we come back, we need to do the camping.
totally.
I mean, on second thought, I think that compared to the original Hurtigruten, which is literally that this is the name of not just the company but also the route. So it goes from Bergen to Kirkenes. If you look at that boat, that really doesn't have a lot of opportunity to stray from a defined path.
Oh yeah, it doesn't.
You get maybe 35 minutes sometimes in port, and that's it for the day.
Yeah.
Right? Here, they're going to stop 8 hours in port. They're going to take everyone out on a boat ride or on a landing, and they're going to make sure that everyone has an opportunity. So it's definitely way more focused on the tourist as opposed to delivering stuff. Let's just take care of that. Let's get, brass freaking tacks, boys.
Yeah,
let's get to it. What's the worst destination of 2022? All right, Aiden.
Croatia.
Great. Croatia. Why it suck?
Don't say it sucks. Here's the thing. Croatia had really good parts of it and really not so good parts of it. We've met some really, really nice people in Croatia. But one thing that those really, really nice people told us is there's a lot of really, really not nice people, specifically in the tourist district in Croatia, who only care about money. And then we came face to face with that reality. So, as I'm going to say, people kind of evens itself out. I'm just going to be neutral on that because there were just some super nice people and some super, super awful people too. And then past that, the food was just not very good. They had very good vegan options, if I'm being honest, compared to many other locations. The issue is taste. They love using lots of mayonnaise and not seasoning things really in the way that I think most Americans are used to it. It's not under-seasoned, it's just very unique type of seasoning.
Weird.
So I would say all in all, if you're going to tally it up, Croatia is the worst out of every place, but that does not mean it's a horrible, horrible destination that nobody should ever travel to. I just personally would not recommend it. Our personal experience was not very good, and the way that it was described by the locals just further confirmed what we already had suspected based off of our experience. So yeah, that's Croatia for you.
All right, Dad, you.
I'm not going to say it was the worst place that we've been to, but there were some issues that I had with South Africa. I loved living in Cape Town. We were there for 2 months, but there were issues with just the safety. There were, really high fences that were electrified, and there were moments when I was afraid that we might not make it out of there. But those were few and far between, and the places where we stayed were really beautiful. I mean, South Africa is one of the most beautiful countries anywhere, and so we stayed in some very safe areas, and we met so many lovely people. So I can't trash South Africa. All I can say is that if you want safe, you have to really be careful. Just there are places in South Africa that are not safe, so just be aware of that, and maybe go to the areas that your travel agent recommends that are not are safe.
If you want safety, go to UAE, Qatar, go to Switzerland, any European country.
Yeah.
You're gonna get safe there.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be my vote would be just because of the safety aspect. I would say is be careful of South Africa, but don't not go. How's that for a double negative? Don't not go.
Yeah, exactly.
So how about you, Aaron?
Well, gee, it's hard because, I don't know. I think that really in all of our traveling that we've done, the most unpleasant destinations for me have been those two places. In Croatia, I felt like really I wanted to believe in their food. A part of the destination is going out and getting food, so call me spoiled. But anyway, I kept giving it a second chance. Like, let's go to this restaurant. We'll just for lunch or something. It's nice, But it just kept disappointing, and there was nothing I could do that. And same thing with Cape Town. I remember in my latter month of being in Cape Town, I felt like really trapped in V&A waterfront.
Same,
because
yeah.
I didn't want to leave.
Yeah,
you had
No, you couldn't leave.
We had
just
maybe
couldn't.
a 2 to 3 kilometers. It was basically from V&A waterfront, and then there was just a little beach path that took you a little long, and
That's very nice.
But that was it. I mean, after that, there were some places in South Africa where I felt like I could only get food by using Uber Eats because it was just I didn't want to go outside. So those are two absolutely accurate ways of saying it. But I think that beyond that, well, yeah, I mean, there's really every other place has been pretty okay. There's nothing else has been really shockingly bad, So I would say, yeah, definitely those two. I'm just going to agree with you and we'll move on.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening to the Elliott Confidential podcast. We normally in this spot would be reading your comments, but we had so many comments for your favorite destinations of 22. We can't possibly read them all, and they're very long too, so I would recommend you go back and read them. But remember, for next week, we are going to be reading your comments, and those are for the worst destination of last year. And I would love to hear about those, so don't forget to leave that in the comments, your worst destinations of 2022. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll talk to you next time.
Ciao.